Channel Bank Jolly News would give you information about China's Communist Party Congress, a really simple guide. By David Brown, BBC News Visual Journalism Team. China's ruling Communist Party is expected to hand a third five-year term to Xi Jinping, arguably the most powerful Chinese leader since Mao Zedong in the 1970s. The decision, which comes after a two-term limit was abolished in 2018, would further tighten his grip on China. It is possible that Mr. Xi, 69, will remain in power for the rest of his life. The historic move is due at a Communist Party Congress in Beijing beginning on the 16th of October, one of the most important meetings in the party's history. Xi Jinping currently holds three top positions. As General Secretary, he is the chief of China's Communist Party. As president, he is China's head of state. As chairman of China's Central Military Commission, he commands the country's armed forces. He is also referred to as paramount or supreme leader. Mr. Xi is likely to retain the first two titles, Party General Secretary and Central Military Commission Chairman at the Party Congress, which takes place every 5 years, and the presidency at the annual National People's Congress in spring 2023. What happens at the Congress? Some 2,300 delegates will gather in Tiananmen Square's Great Hall of the People for about a week. About 200 of them will be selected to join the party's Central Committee, plus around 170 alternate members. The Central Committee will elect 25 people to the party's Politburo. And the Politburo will appoint the members of the Politburo Standing Committee. These are the elite of the elite. There are currently 7 members, including the party's General Secretary Xi Jinping. They are all men. Not all of the action takes place at the Congress itself. The Central Committee is expected to meet the day after the main Congress ends. Why is it important? Mr. Xi will lead the world's second largest economy and one of its biggest military forces. Some analysts say he is likely to push China towards a more authoritarian political stance in a third 5-year term. China under Xi is moving in a totalitarian direction, says Professor Steve Tsang of London University's School of Oriental and African Studies, SOAS. China under Mao was a totalitarian system. We're not there yet, but we're moving in that direction. Professor Tsang says the Congress could see changes to the party's constitution, with Xi Jinping thought being further enshrined as the party's guiding philosophy. Xi Jinping thought is Mr. Xi's brand of Chinese socialism, an assertively nationalist philosophy which is highly skeptical of private business. Under his leadership, the Chinese authorities have cracked down on powerful companies in several sectors of the economy. If that happens, they'll effectively make him a dictator, Professor Tsang says. China's top leadership team, to be unveiled at the Congress, will set a huge range of policies. Any hint of China's future direction will be followed closely around the world, particularly on the key challenges: economic, political, diplomatic, and environmental. China's economic challenge. China's economy has boomed in recent decades. But it now faces serious economic disruption from COVID lockdowns, rising prices, and a major property crisis. Growing fears of a global recession triggered by the war in Ukraine have also damaged confidence. Economic growth under Mr. Xi's leadership is lower than under previous presidents Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao. Some analysts say the legitimacy of the communist government rests heavily on its ability to deliver higher incomes and good jobs for Chinese workers. So bad economic performance in the next 5 years could spell serious political trouble for Mr. Xi. The Congress will set the stage for a shakeup of key economic roles including central bank governor and premier. Zero COVID. China's zero-COVID approach to the pandemic is one of Xi's landmark policies. While much of the world has been returning to normal, China's authorities have intensified their efforts to contain outbreaks, with strict lockdowns, mass testing, and lengthy quarantines. Reports say that more than 70 cities including Shenzhen and Chengdu have been under full or partial lockdown measures in recent weeks, with tens of millions of residents affected, huge numbers of businesses disrupted, and reports of public discontent. Mr. Xi has vowed to resolutely fight against any words and acts that distort, doubt, or deny his COVID policy. A major outbreak in the run-up to the Congress, or during the meeting itself, risks damaging Mr. Xi's image of competence. Some observers say the party may use the Congress to declare victory over the pandemic and end the zero-COVID policy. Alternatively, the party may argue that China, unlike other countries, values people's lives more than the economy, in which case the policy will continue. Taiwan and the West. Mr. Xi has also favored a hardline approach to relations with the West, particularly over Taiwan. A visit to Taiwan by the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives in August prompted China to launch military exercises, including live missile firing, around the island. China sees Taiwan as a breakaway province that will eventually be under Beijing's control. Taiwan sees itself as distinct from the mainland. Other news about China COVID. Rare protest against President Xi before Party Congress. By Tessa Wong and Stephen McDonnell. BBC News, Singapore and Beijing. A rare protest attacking President Xi Jinping and China's COVID restrictions has taken place in Beijing, days before a historic Communist Party Congress. Images showed two protest banners on a bridge in the northwest of the city. The protest appeared to have been swiftly stopped by the authorities. Frustration has been mounting in the capital before the Congress. There has been an outpouring of anger online at strict security measures and the COVID restrictions put in place. Authorities have tightened access to the city, shutting out many travelers, returning residents and deliveries. Others had their movement restricted or were forced to quarantine. The images and footage of the protests that have been circulating showed two large banners unfurled on a bridge in Beijing's Haidian district. One read, "No COVID test, we want to eat. No restrictions, we want freedom. No lies, we want dignity. No cultural revolution, we want reform. No leaders, we want votes. By not being slaves, we can be citizens." The other called on residents to go on strike at school and work, remove dictator and national traitor Xi Jinping. The BBC is not responsible for the content of external sites. Video from the scene showed unexplained thick plumes of smoke on the bridge and a man could be heard chanting slogans into a loudhailer. A BBC team visit to the scene later found no trace of it, but there was a visible police presence in the area. The week-long 20th Party Congress, due to kick off on Sunday, will see about 2,300 top officials and party delegates descend upon the capital. China's leader Xi Jinping is expected to be handed a third term, breaking decades-long tradition and shoring up his already firm grip on power. The capital usually sees strict security measures in the lead-up to important events. Street-level security has been strengthened with paramilitary police patrolling subway stations and neighborhoods near the Great Hall of the People where the Congress will take place. Authorities are cracking down on the use of virtual private networks circumventing China's firewalls, to restrict access to the internet beyond Communist Party control. But in an attempt to stamp out small COVID outbreaks in Beijing as the Congress nears, city authorities are enforcing much stricter measures than most other parts of China. Tens of millions of residents are being tested every 3 days, with screenings for entry to all buildings enforced and mask-wearing mandates policed. Officials have also heavily restricted the number of people entering the city and discouraged residents from leaving. Many people who traveled to other cities during a recent National Day holiday found that their online health codes, essential for travel around the country, suddenly indicated they were at risk of COVID infection, preventing them from getting on trains or flights back to Beijing. Others who managed to return to Beijing saw a similar change in their health codes days after returning, according to online accounts, forcing them to quarantine at home. "I don't understand why Beijing did this. I can't go to work. I'm about to lose my job. I'm so frustrated. When is it going to end?" said one commenter on Weibo, while another added, "We suffer all these just because someone has to hold a meeting. Why torment the ordinary people? The authorities have implemented their policy unreasonably. Their credibility is down the drain. How could people trust them?" asked another. It comes amid a growing fatigue among ordinary Chinese with the zero COVID strategy that has seen harsh lockdowns and quarantine measures, long after other countries have eased restrictions. Several recent incidents, including a bus crash that killed 27 people who were being transported to quarantine camps, have sparked public anger. The frustration is at odds with the celebratory mood for the 20th Party Congress on display on state media and institutions. Red banners marking the Congress have popped up around the capital and popular mobile apps have changed their display colors to red. A drama recapping the highlights of the last 10 years of Mr. Xi's rule has begun airing on primetime television, while similarly themed exhibitions are being held around the country. State media outlets have rolled out material in support of official policies including Zero COVID, urging Chinese people to strengthen confidence in and have patience with the current epidemic prevention and control policies. Thank you for your attention and don't forget to like and subscribe.